Okay, so today we're going to be doing a slightly different video. It's going to be a reaction video to something that Chris Tatarian put on his channel recently. It's a video or an interview that he did with Baeleena, who is a popular Mortal Kombat personality. I believe she's a Baeleena player, and I believe she burst onto the scene in Mortal Kombat 10. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong, it might have been Mortal Kombat 9. I've seen her for a while, I haven't actually ever interacted with her before. But the reason that I'm reacting to this is because the topic of female safety has been ongoing for a few weeks now in the FGC. I was going to do a video very similar to this with girls in my Discord and girls that I know in real life about their safety in the general gaming scene, although majority of them are FGC. And I thought that this was a very interesting interview. I like the way Chris conducted it, and I thought it was very interesting to hear what Baeleena had to say. Now, her experiences are things that I've actually heard before happening, and whilst I did make a video saying that the FGC is a very nice place to be, it's normally a very safe place to be, you do have to acknowledge, or I have to acknowledge, the fact that I see the FGC through the lens of a man. When I go to tournaments, I'm normally with a big pack of guys, and even if I'm on my own, I don't particularly feel threatened by anybody. I've had some encounters with some people that were not threatening me, but they were trying to make advances on me, right? They might have liked me a bit more than I thought that they did. And because I'm a guy, I can just sort of like shrug off the situation. Usually it doesn't turn into something that's crazy, but I can imagine those approaches and the way they went about it could definitely make a girl feel a bit threatened. So we're going to be doing some reactions to things that she said in this video, and then at the end of the video I've got some comments that I've highlighted from Chris Tatarian's interview with Baeleena that were left under his video, and I found them very interesting, and I found the mindset very interesting. So I'm going to read them out to you guys, give you my opinion on the situation, and then obviously you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. And before anybody starts, no, I'm not a feminist, I'm not white knighting anything but. However, I don't need to be a feminist to want to see women be safe in the fighting game community and the gaming community in general. So without further ado, let's jump into the video.
I would normally encounter a few weird people, but this person was like really bad. Like it was like full harassment, and it sucks because it started as a friend, and I met this person when I actually got recruited for Kinetic. So I met this person that was in that clan.
Okay.
And we became friends, and like he would teach me how to play the like he taught me a lot of like things that I need to get better at with Baeleena and stuff. But yeah, it became like I started seeing like a lot of red flags, and like I ignored it a lot because I was like not aware of like how wild and crazy people can be in the internet. Like I've always like been super like distant from the internet.
Yeah.
So that was like my first like big experience with the internet. So it was like very traumatic because this person was literally just like even calling my job and like threatening me, and like it got really bad.
It's not the first time that I've heard of people befriending girls that come into the scene and then doing a 180. This is actually not the first time that I've heard of it. Now, I haven't heard of it for a while because I haven't really been looking into it, but I can believe that because I've seen it firsthand. Now, I don't know how old Baeleena is, and I don't know why she was so trusting. Maybe that was really her first time on the internet and she didn't really understand how it worked. But yes, the internet can be a very scary place. And for the 99 people that you might encounter in the day, it only takes one psychopath to ruin the entire experience. Now, since my channel blew up, I have gained multiple thousands of subscribers, and I would say 99.5% of those interactions have been very pleasant. I've enjoyed my interactions with my community. I've integrated with other communities. I get on well with most people. However, there have been a couple of individuals who have also sent me some messages that I actually can't even put on the screen because of some of the pictures in them. They have been a little bit weird. I don't really feel threatened by them. However, if it was a woman receiving those messages, I can 100% understand how they might be a bit like, oh shit, do I really want to be in the scene? Now, just to make this very clear, I'm not saying that this is the majority of the FGC. Of course it's not. If I thought the majority of FGC people were weirdos and creeps, I wouldn't be a part of it. I actually think most people are pretty cool. I enjoy my interactions with most people. I've been a part of other scenes. I think the FGC is the best one. but we should highlight when there are actual creeps in the scene. And again, it is a very, very male dominated scene, so most of the interactions are going to be with other men. So just try to imagine it through the lens of a woman who encounters maybe 1 or 2 creeps. It only takes 1 or 2 creeps to warp your entire perception and make you a little bit afraid to start coming to tournaments, because we've heard of stories at tournaments, unfortunately. Now in the next clip, Chris mentions what steps can be taken for men to make women feel more accommodating, and I'm going to touch on this now, but I'm also going to touch on it a little bit later on because it ties into one of the comments that I screenshotted.
You know, experiences in the FGC such as weird interactions. Personally, I've known Sherry for a long time. I know that she's had literal stalkers and very weird people contact her. So I wanted you to kind of get into the space for women in the scene, and do you have any steps / ideas that could be taken by TOs or just the social media space and the conduct of most of the men that could help alleviate the stigmas and weird behaviors? Because, you know, let's be honest, there's a lot of weird men in the community. And, you know, even I've experienced a lot of weirdos as well. I just feel like for some reason, the space is heavily dominated by men. It's a male heavy dominated space. So, you know, any woman that enters the scene, a lot of these men who don't interact with women on a normal, natural basis, who don't even know how to flirt with women or anything like that, they see somebody that they're attracted to or that they like, and then their, you know, caveman brain goes in and they don't really know how to interact.
Now I come from the arcade scene. I remember Trocadero Arcade. I remember Sega World and all that stuff. And I remember that it was literally just men. There were no women there. I could not even tell you a time when I bumped into a woman when we were all playing Tekken or Third Strike or any of those games. I actually can't remember one. However, as time went on and the arcade scene started to die down, I started to see more and more women at tournaments. And the first time that I really started to see girls at tournaments was Street Fighter 4. I think this was back in 2008. Now, it wasn't a lot. It was like 1 or 2 people. I think one of them was actually one of my friends that had come to the tournament, if I remember correctly. But over time, we started to see more and more women come into the space. And I think it's important to welcome them into the space because they should also be allowed to feel comfortable when they're playing games. And for those of you that are saying that, oh, why do we have to change things up for women? It's not that you have to change things up. You just need to picture it this way, right? This is something that'll probably make sense to men. Remember your first time in the gym. Remember you were either really skinny or really fat, and you're going to the gym for the first time. Now, some of you, like me, might have gone to a lifter's gym, like one of those bodybuilders gyms. I wanted to go to one of those because I wanted to be around people that I could really learn from. I could really soak up information rather than going to like a commercial gym where, you know, there's all sorts of random people and I can't really build a bond with anyone because, you know, in certain gyms you can start to work out as strangers and get to know them very well. But just remember your first day. And you would have seen those videos on the internet, the stereotypical gym guy, even though most of them are not like this, where they're shouting in the gym, they're screaming into the mirror, everyone's buff, everyone's oiled up, and you come in there with your fat ass or your skinny legs, and you're like, oh my god. And there's nobody that wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to help you, and you feel really awkward. You're thinking to yourself, maybe I'm doing the workouts wrong. How nice would it have been for someone to be a little bit accommodating and being like, hey, I can show you the ropes, we can be cool with each other. And then over time, you know, you build a bond with these people. I think the same thing could happen with the FGC. In a space that is male dominated, most tournaments I go to, I just see men. When I went to EVO Japan, I saw girls there. Saw way more girls than I thought I would, but most people there were men. It'd be nice to maybe not change things up, but act in a way that makes them feel a little bit more safe. One way that you can do this, and something that I actually did, this wasn't at the arcades, this was when I was playing in my bedroom with my friends on Smash Brothers or Street Fighter, is that we had some girls that wanted to play, but they didn't understand the banter that we had together. So rather than just being like a Call of Duty lobby, because you can't actually see who's behind headsets, so there's no point trying to moderate that. When you're in person with them, me and my friends say some heinous things to each other. So I'm really like, if you heard us saying it, you think we hate each other. But there's a brotherhood there, we love each other. But you can't welcome a woman into that space and start saying that shit to her. She's going to think, oh my god, am I going to make it home okay? So what you do is you ease them in. You're like, okay, you know, you help them play the game, you teach them the ropes, you drop a couple jokes here and there, make them feel comfortable, and then over time they'll be calling you a bitch before you know it, because you've made them feel comfortable. You don't dump somebody into a scene that is full of people that are very rabid and very competitive and then just start being like, oh well, you know, you should have just known. That's all well and good as a talking point or like a sound bite or like a clip that you could put on the internet. You know, we've seen people doing that. I just just saw a video with Myron Gaines on the fat versus fit thing, and it's not to say that everything he said was wrong, but his approach, in my opinion, just doesn't work. It's not a welcoming approach.
Shame is what led me to an eating disorder.
Whose fault
When
is that,
what
though?
we're looking for is
Whose fault is that?
stability.
That's your fault.
It's
See, the
an
problem is that you're a
amalgamation.
professional victim.
Dial things back a little bit the same way you would in the gym, and you help that person. I've got friends that were overweight. They wanted to go to the gym. They didn't have the confidence. Over time, I became a little bit more militant until they understood that I'm cool with this guy. He's not taking the piss out of me. He wants to see me do well, and I dial it up, and then we go full military mode and we start getting in there. But if I did that on day one, do you think they're going to come back? Now, Chris goes on to mention that there's a lot of weirdos in the FGC, and that is true, but that is true for all things. It's not just the FGC. Now, obviously, we're talking about the FGC here, so it's fine to reference it, but just to make it clear, that is true for all things in life. You will encounter weirdos in every single community that you go into. Although I enjoy being in the FGC, I would be lying if I said that I have not met some people who have probably never left their house, as in they have not been socially integrated, and so they don't know how to talk to people, and they expect certain things, and they lash out when very basic and normal things happen. And sometimes when a girl speaks to them, they might, the neighbors really have to start doing the lawn while I'm doing a video. Every time. I've seen situations where girls will speak to people and this individual will just see that as an opportunity to lock in. And it's not to say that you can't shoot your shot at a girl. Absolutely. Although I do find it weird to do at a fighting game tournament where people are trying to play games together. But it's not to say that you can't. There are certain ways that people go about things that can make people feel really uncomfortable. I've observed that happening before. In my opinion, in a male-dominated space like that, I don't think, this is just me, okay? You can flame me for this if you want. I don't think you should be moving to girls at fighting game tournaments. I find it a little bit weird. We're there to play games, right? It's not to say you can't talk to people. I don't know, man. It doesn't really compute with me. I don't know if I'm missing something, but just the idea that you would try to move to a girl at a fighting game tournament doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't think you should take it as a personal attack when someone says there's weirdos in the scene, because there just are. There's weirdos in the anime scene, there's weirdos in the gym scene. I recently got introduced to like the underground car scene, and I've met some weirdos in that as well. There's weirdos everywhere you go. But I think us as men, welcoming girls into this space, I think it's important to make them feel safe. I think it's important to make women feel safe in all areas of life. I don't subscribe to this, men going their own way sort of nonsense going on. I know there's a lot of contention between men and women online right now, but I don't think you should play into that. I don't think you should play into the silly girls that say nasty things about men, and I don't think you should play into the like red pill content where they're constantly putting women down. It's one of those things where, let's keep it simple. We love women, we want to protect them, make sure they're okay. Yes, some people talk shit. Yes, people will come to fighting game tournaments and lie for clout, but you got to understand that there's a flip side to it as well, and some girls are just coming there to dip their toes in the scene and see if they can make a splash, and they're being harassed. So girls being in the scene is a relatively new thing. It's not something that I really saw much when I was growing up. I saw more girls in like the anime scenes, but definitely not fighting games. And it's nice to see them in the fighting game scene. It's nice to see that there's more girls that are better at the games. It's nice to see that more girls want to play with guys. I remember when like a girl would want to play with us on a video game, it used to always be like, oh my god, there's a girl who wants to play a game, because back when I was growing up in the arcade scene, it was unheard of. It was absolutely unheard of. So I don't think we should gatekeep things and tell them to grow a backbone with everything. Obviously, there's certain situations where it's like, okay, we're in a Call of Duty lobby, don't take things to heart. But when you're in person, and obviously, it can get physical, I think it's very important to make them feel like they're welcome and they're safe.
Like I said, this person, I met him online. We used to game a lot, and we became really good friends, and we would like game every day. And then I started seeing like red flags in terms of like back in the PlayStation 3, if you were like in a group chat, like if you're in a call and in a party, you'd be able to see the people that were in there. So like every time I was like with my friends, which obviously were all guys, because I normally didn't know any like women in the scene like that back then.
There wasn't many, to be honest. There really wasn't.
Yeah, so like it was a lot of guys. I was always with the guys, and like he would throw in comments like, "Oh, I see you're hanging out with this person now." Like, well, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, okay, that's a little weird. And then like he would like kind of get upset with me, and it like happened a lot often. And like I needed to like assure him, like I have a boyfriend. Back then I was in a 9-year relationship.
Wow.
So I was like, let him know that, like, you know, I'm taken, I'm in a relationship, and it was like it became like a bit weird, but then like I would ignore it because I'm the type of person that like I have this thing where like I always try to see like the best out of people.
Yeah, you give them benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Now, Baeleena says that she gave the benefit of the doubt to this individual. I'm not flaming her for this, but girls and guys as well, don't give the benefit of the doubt to anybody that you don't know personally. And you can talk to people online. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but in my experience, you know, talk to people online, you can have that banter, but try to keep it very surface level. Don't go so far that it's something that you can't walk back from, because at the end of the day, fighting games or not, these are strangers on the internet. There's levels to things. I certainly wouldn't be asking a person on the internet to help me with my internet. I would be asking somebody in real life, yo bro, one of my guys down the road, can you come over to my house and help me out with something? I don't think you should talk to strangers on that level. So I'm not flaming her for that, but that's definitely a learning curve. Don't give strangers the benefit of that. And that same goes for me. I've got a lot of people that talk to me online. I've got a lot of people that I talk to in Discord. And obviously, I mean, I'm saying it in 4K. I haven't got the energy to fucking DDoS somebody or whatever it is that she's talking about. But I am still a stranger to, you know, you guys. And I think that you should always have your guard up with people. I always have my guard up with people. Where people have messaged me before asking me certain things, saying, why won't you do this? Why won't you do that? I don't reveal personal things about myself online. And I certainly wouldn't give somebody access to my internet. And girls, if you're watching this, do not do that. That is a stupid thing to do.
So like he was in my clan and he was cool. I enjoyed like hanging out with him. And he helped me a lot in a lot of situations. And sadly, right, I feel like this whole like harassment came from like me. Like I had a little issue with my internet and he helped me out with it. And that's like when the ugly harassment started, because this man was doing things that I didn't even know were possible. Like he was like hacking my social medias. He was like, it was like so traumatic. I can't even like explain how traumatic it was, because I didn't even know that was possible off of you like help, like trying to, because I thought he wanted to help me, you know? So like I trusted him and he kind of like took advantage of the fact that I was like so unaware of all of the things that could come with this. So yeah, like he would DDoS me if I like streamed. Like he would threaten me saying that, oh, like he had like personal stuff about me. And if I were to like stream, he would like post them. He would harass my family members. He would call my mom. He would like find them on social media. He would message them. He would like, it was like a complete shit show.
Now, I do want to point out that I do think that there is a substantial amount of this story that's missing, because it went from being somebody in her team to then suddenly being somebody that is attacking her over the internet. I feel like there's a chunk of this story that is missing. Now, I'm not saying she's lying. I'm not saying she's lying at all. But it's very important that she outlines the steps that got there, because for somebody that's not socially integrated into societies, for somebody that just sits in their rooms all day playing games, maybe she might have said something to set him off. Now, that's not putting the blame on her, but it's important to know that when people don't understand cues and they can't read the room and they don't understand that somebody's just trying to communicate with them on a friendly level, they can take things the wrong way and think to themselves, oh, this person likes me. I've even seen a situation where somebody thought that they were now in a relationship with this individual, and when I read the messages I was like, what? But as I read them I was like, okay, you probably shouldn't have said that. And the girl that I was speaking to, she was unaware. But I was like, yeah, sometimes people read the room really poorly. So I do think a substantial amount of this story is missing. Not that she's lying again, but I think that she should outline it, because I think it's very, very good to show people exactly what happened, because there could have been a situation in this where she went wrong and she might have given him maybe the false impression that this was going somewhere where it wasn't. But again, I do believe her story, because this story is very, very similar to something that I witnessed firsthand, and I want to get the girl on here to do it. She's very against coming on camera and speaking about it, and I don't want to force her to do it, but this was in a separate scene. I don't even want to say the name of the game because she's very popular. I've seen this happen before, and it's disappointing that people do these sort of things, and it sort of makes people not want to come back into those gaming spaces.
This man would call my job. Like, I remember one time I was just like at the salon, and my boss comes to me. He's like, yo, like, there's somebody on the phone asking for you. And it's this man. I was like confused. I was like, the man? Because I normally have like women clients. So like he was like, yeah, this is a man. So like when I pick up, it was him, and like I swear to God, like the hairs of my hands and my body like were just, it was insane. It was like so scary. And that's when I decided to like step away, because I was like, yeah, like I'm not trying to deal with this. And this person continued to harass me for years and years after that.
This guy calling her workplace is insane. He's obviously batshit crazy. Personally, I think she should expose him. I think anybody that is doing these sort of things, you should expose them. I don't think you should suffer in silence. Put them on Twitter, take it to the police. Now, she did say she took this to the police, but I believe she was in Puerto Rico when this happened initially, and the guy was in the States, so it's a little bit difficult to do anything when there's no actual evidence. Put that shit on Twitter. If this person's in your team, speak to the person that's in the team. If this person's well known online, expose them. I don't think people should be allowed to get away with these sort of things. I don't think you should be making people feel uncomfortable, especially, again, when this is a male-dominated space, and we should be welcoming these individuals into our space, in my opinion anyway. Now, like I said, when I go to tournaments, I'm normally with a bag of guys, and these guys are like twice the size of me, and I know that if anything kicked off, these guys are going to have my back, and it's going to be a very long day for the person that tried their luck. But even when I don't go to tournaments with people and I'm on my own, I don't feel threatened by people. But I'm trying to remember, you know, I'm not tooting my own horn here, and I'm also not saying that everyone's bad, but I'm trying to imagine being in the body of a woman that doesn't even have 5% of my strength or my wherewithal or whatever it might be, walking into a venue, and you know, maybe she's really pretty and all eyes are on her. Suddenly going to the toilet on your own becomes a bit of a tricky task. I mean, I remember going to a part of the UK, and I went to, it wasn't a fighting game tournament, but it was a tournament, and there was an assault situation in the toilets, and luckily it was caught because the girl screamed. The individual was caught there and then. Imagine just walking to the toilets and someone shoves you into a cubicle. This shit happens. It's not all people that do these things. Not all people are bad people. Again, most people are not going to shove a woman into a cubicle, but it only takes one asshole to do these things, and it's gonna majority of the time happen to women. You'd be very, very hard pressed to find a story of a man that was pushed into a cubicle by another man and then assaulted. You know, you don't really hear about those things. I'm sure they happen, but usually it's because women are more fragile, you know, they're easier to push around. You know, I'm sure you behind the monitor, I know me, for example, if I walked into an all-female tournament, I could probably turn everyone into a pretzel in 2 seconds. Imagine having that level of strength over an entire community of people. It can't be a nice feeling to know that anybody here could turn me into an omelette at any second. And again, for anyone's typing getting angry, I'm not saying that guys are doing this. I'm saying that it only takes one or two to make a whole bunch of people feel uncomfortable. Now, unfortunately, with these sort of things, it's very, very hard to regulate them, especially when it's online. In tournaments, if there's a small enough crowd and it's not massive, like I'm going to Versus Fight, for example, in August. If something happened in that venue, if they're doing it in the venue that I think they're doing it in, it's going to be very, very hard to, you know, have someone there hands-on because the venue is massive. But if it's in a much smaller place, it's much easier to regulate these sort of things. It's much easier to see everyone. I think as a community, we need to realize that yes, there are going to be girls that come into this space that just chat shit and lie for clout. It happens in all spaces. We've seen enough videos. I mean, you just go over to Abba and Preacher's page. They've got enough videos of girls lying for no reason. We saw the Johnny Depp situation. We know that Amber Rose was mostly lying about most things. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen either, but we also know the flip side happens. And I think as guys, as people that are the majority of this space, we should look out for these girls and we shouldn't turn them away and make them feel like they haven't got anywhere to go or anyone to speak to. Now again, most people that I speak to are going to be very accommodating to women. They're going to welcome them into the space. There'll be a lot of people that will probably shield them from these sort of things happening, but there are people that lurk in the shadows, and I think it's good to point them out. Now then, I want to read out some comments to you guys. These comments I found very, very weird. So the first comment comes from Lee Style Lan, and it says, I don't mind girls playing games, but why do they only want to use characters that are girls? I haven't seen one girl gamer use a male character. MK Katana, SF Chun-Li, Tekken Ling, Elisa or Lily. Sounds a bit sexist. Now, this person and this comment is less of an issue, obviously. It's a bit of a stupid comment. I did want to highlight it because I did think it's not a sexist thing. I mean, if you look at all the characters, I only play male characters. I don't play female characters. I don't like playing female characters. I have no interest in female characters. You will not catch me playing a female character because I'm a guy and I like using male characters. I like using the big, overpowering, you know, boss characters, the ones that are like overbearing. You see them pop up on the character select screen, you're like, oh shit, this is going to be a long day. Those are the kind of characters I like. Girls like using female characters because they're women. It makes perfect sense. Now, it's not to say girls won't like using male characters. I know plenty of girls that play characters like King or whatnot. It's not a sexist thing. So that's the first light comment to start this off. They get worse and worse as we go on. Next comment is from Nick R, who says, women are terrible at games. Objectively, this is fact, and it's not just video games, it's any competitive field. I've never even heard of a girl winning a serious tournament. Can we please just be honest with facts? I believe there have been girls that have won quite big tournaments, I think in Tekken as well. Although I can't remember their names off the top of my head, so I apologize. But I think it's Cuddlecore, right? I think Cuddlecore is a female Tekken player, and I'm pretty sure she's won tournaments. If not, then she's placed very high. And even if she hasn't won tournaments, I've seen her playing with Pakistani and Korean players at the highest level, so she's very, very competent at the game. Also, this comment just, what does it have to do with anything? I don't know how many tournaments I've entered, and plenty of girls have entered over the years and experienced no backlash. This goes back to the 90s, so these instances are anomalies, not the norm at all. And it's not why girls are terrible at gaming. Plenty of males have been bullied in the gaming world as well. Competing with men is lowering the lifespan of women in the Western world, but whatever, the insecurity of people must be satisfied. This comment is really, really bizarre to me because, like I said in this video, yes, majority of the time when you go to a tournament, you're going to be fine. Even if you go on your own as a woman, you're going to be fine. The idea is to try and make it feel a little bit more accommodating to them. And I use the gym as an example. A lot of these people that say these things, and I actually spoke to one guy personally about this before I recorded this video. And I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to shame him, but he's very, very skinny, very, very small. And I've said to him multiple times, let's go gym, bro. Let's go to the gym. Let's put some weight on you. It's like, no, I don't want to. Why don't you want to? Oh, gym's a little bit intimidating. Why is it intimidating? Well, because there's guys in there, there's these big dudes in there who are like 3 times the size of me, blah, blah, blah. Basically, what I'm trying to say here with girls in the FGC, it's not to say that any of these guys are nasty guys. And the guys in my gym are all great. Yeah, they look like they've pumped every single roid into their stomach, some of them. But majority of them are really, really nice guys. And they're there to help you. And that's the same for the FGC. However, it's good to point out the situations where there's bad people. And I've encountered bad individuals in the gym. And I've encountered bad individuals in the FGC. And that's what we're talking about here. Also, their skill has nothing to do with this. No one's talking about skill. No, women are not bad at games because there are weirdos in the scene. They're just not as good at games. A, they don't play them as much as us, and B, I think male reflexes are better than female reflexes or something. I'm not going to go into the whole biology of it because I'm probably going to get my information wrong, but I did read a study as to why men are better than women at like digital activities, but I'm not going to go into the whole thing right now. But the comment in general is just a bit of a silly comment. Next comment says, how do we get more women in the FGC? Are you sex deprived or something? Since when were women important to playing fighting games? I think you missed the point there. I think the point is that maybe there are a lot of women that want to play fighting games, and there's a lot of women that want to come into the scene and they just feel a little bit like, oh, I'm not too sure. And to show them that we're not all monsters and animals, trying to be a bit more accommodating, saying, yeah, people are soft and gentle here, you're going to be okay. And when you've eased them in and they feel comfortable, then you can start ripping into them the same way we rip into the boys. It's nothing to do with sex. You like a fighting game and want to share that passion with others. One of the ways to express that is to attend an event with hopefully other like-minded people. This is not about women, and women will show up when there's enough status attached to the community for them to be attracted to attending events. Women have always been free to come to events and nobody is blocking them from showing up. The FGC becomes less about fighting games as years go by and the FGC title loses its meaning. Might as well call the community something else altogether. Yeah, women are free to come to the tournaments. They've always been free to come to the tournaments, but we're talking about individuals that make it so they feel uncomfortable. Are you going to pretend like there's no individuals out there that don't make women feel uncomfortable in all scenes? The point here is not to white knight. It's not to act like some feminist or, and I'm sure someone's going to say, she ain't going to sleep with you, bro. Some dumb comment like that. The point is to point out that we know that there are creeps in this scene. We know that there have been individuals that have been made to feel a certain type of way. I've seen it firsthand. Even as somebody, I'm not female, obviously. And I've received weird messages, so I can only imagine things that people like Baeleena receive. And I've seen the messages on my friends' phones that are part of other scenes. It exists. The point here is to talk about it, to weed these people out. Don't we want to weed these people out? It's not to say the whole FGC is messed up, we know that, but it's to weed out the bad worms. You're not going to get all of them, obviously. There can't be good without bad. They're always going to be there. They live in the shadows, whatever. But there's nothing wrong with speaking about it, and there's nothing wrong with letting these girls' voices be heard. This comment from Mac Gawain says, you guys need to realize you'll have to, and not in a good way, change the entire atmosphere of the FGC to meet the needs of these women. Chris replied saying, I don't think we need to change the entire atmosphere. I just think a lot of guys need to understand how to talk to women and behave respectfully and no boundaries. But that would be in an ideal world. Unfortunately, thanks for watching. And then Mark Gowan replies, but don't you think it's antithetical to the nature of competitive fighting games for women to force an entire community to conform to their sensibilities as opposed to them adapting to the scene they are entering? I'm going to finish off that comment, but this is what I was talking about. We don't have to change how we behave, okay? I've got female friends who I use the same banter on that I do with my male friends. The point is to ease people in. That's why I use the gym as an example. The gym's a perfect example because it's a scary place for a lot of newcomers, both male and female. You ease people in when they don't feel particularly safe about something. It's not to say that we are new to the scene, that we destroy the essence of the FGC, that we take away the banter to accommodate people that might be a little bit more sensitive. It's just to say that there are ways and there's concessions that can be made to make it more of a welcoming environment, and then you can go to ripping into them like you would one of the boys, which I'm sure they would appreciate. I think everybody here wants to be treated as equals. Everybody here wants to be seen in the same lens. I mean, the girls that I talk to in my Discord, or that I talk to in some of my friends' Discords, I've gotten to know them over time. I've gotten to ease my level of humor into the Discord, and now they know that when I'm talking to them, even if I'm not writing lol or putting a smiley face, I'm joking, I'm not being serious. But you don't just drop a nuke on them on day one and expect them to understand it. I get fringe cases like the one she mentioned are a bad look, but they don't represent the FGC at large, and IMO shouldn't be used to demonize the vast majority of those who roll out the red carpet for women in the scene. Again, I don't know why people are taking this as everyone in the FGC is to be demonized for the actions of a few. The point of Chris's video, which I think is a good point to make, and the point of this video is that there are some people in the scene that ruin it for everyone. You know, that if this happens to one girl, she might tell another girl, she might tell another girl, and then all of a sudden, you know, we ain't got any girls turn up to tournaments. And again, it's not because anybody wants to get their woolies wet, it's that we want everybody to come and enjoy themselves. So what's wrong with weeding out creeps? And then Duppy Boy says, my dude, not harassing somebody is such a low bar. And Mark Gowan replies, my dude, I don't think you understand women or their effect on men's spaces. This is what I'll say to that. Yes, there's going to be spaces where men are going to be amongst themselves and there's not going to be any women there. For example, if I go on like a boys' holiday, I don't want any girls there. I just want to be with the boys. But the fighting game community is not a male space. It just happens to be male dominated, but it's not gate kept by us. So it's important for us to welcome all types of other people into it. You know, if it was a space that only had Asians in it, then they should be accommodating to black people that are coming in, or to Mexicans that are coming in, or whatever it might be, because it's not just for them. If I create a space just for myself and my boys, then yeah, that's my space. I don't want women in there. And yes, the dynamic of that space will probably change with women being in there. And the same goes for a female space that's created. If they want to go on a girls' holiday, of course the dynamic will change if there are men in there. But the FGC is not like that. It's not our space to keep. It's for everybody to enjoy. And then Winder says, we already changed the entire atmosphere to cater to esports. I won't do it again. I miss my arcade days when we basically bullied each other. You can bully the girls. No one's saying that you can't bully them. Just make sure that they understand that it's a bit of banter. And it was a bit of banter. I come from the arcade scene. We would cuss each other out. We would use all sorts of names for each other, and then we'd go have a drink and some dinner. It's just about welcoming people in. I remember being much younger than some of the guys in the arcade scene, and I remember going there, and I was quite good at Tekken, I think it was Tekken 4 or Tekken 5, and I would beat some of them. And the way they would pop off, I'd be like, oh my god, I'm going to get stabbed. But they were just messing about. They did not ease me in the way that I'm proposing that girls be eased in. Now, I've got thick skin. The approach that works for me is not necessarily going to work for everybody else, and you should be intelligent enough to understand something like that. Just because I can go to the gym, and the approach that works for me is that if I was getting fat, I'd want people to tell me, hey Mike, you're getting fat, you look like a lard ass. That works for me. I'm like, right, I need to get in the gym. It doesn't work for everybody else though. So just because that militant approach works, and just because we rip into each other in the arcade scene, doesn't mean that we don't see a Becky or a Samantha or, you know, whoever come in and we're like, okay, you know, let's ease them in, and then we can start ripping happening to them. Am I making sense here? I don't think we need to go balls to the wall all the time. And I don't think we lose the essence of what the scene is just by doing those things. I mean, we do it for children, right? I'm not saying that women are children. When you're welcoming a child into something, you don't just throw them into the deep end of the pool. You let them paddle a little bit, and then they'll understand the dynamic of what they're going through, and they'll go from there. But that's all I really wanted to say. I feel like I was waffling a lot in this video. I don't know if I've conveyed my point correctly, but the point here is that I don't think that we should change things up in the FGC in terms of how we conduct ourselves around each other. I very much enjoy the banter. I very much enjoy ripping into people. I enjoy the back and forths. But if somebody's new coming into a scene that is heavily dominated by one type of people, there's nothing wrong with making them feel a little bit more welcome. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with listening to the testimonies of people that have had a hard time in the FGC. And I've heard of a lot of girls in gaming, not just FGC, that have had rough times with men. It is what it is. It's not you behind the monitor. Don't take it personally. It's certainly not me, but these people exist. So this female safety in the FGC thing is going to be an ongoing conversation. Obviously, there's going to be women that come forward. I'm sure at some point are going to be lying about something, and those women are going to be shot on accordingly. But there's going to be women that have experiences, that have receipts, that are less than favorable to them, and that we should listen to them, and we should find ways to make them feel a little bit more safe. I know in my day-to-day of the girls that I'm close with, I do anything that I can to make sure they feel okay. If I'm taking them to the gym, I'll reassure them 100 times, it's okay, you know, I'll there with you, I'll hold your hand, you will be okay, whatever it might be. If we're going to like an underground car show, say, look, there are majority guys here, don't worry about it though, I introduce you to the boys, this, that, and the other. And then when they feel comfortable, then you can start treating them like one of the boys. I hope I'm making sense. Maybe I'm just rambling, but that's all I wanted to say for now. Anyways, guys, take care, have a good day, and peace.